Anthony Hopkins has played one of the most terrifying characters in all of cinema history, and I'm going to break down how he does it and why he does it so well. And if you stick with me till the end of this video, I'll show you the one technique he uses that I share with every single one of my acting students now, so you can bring that same magnetic, unsettling presence into your performance. Some actors play villains. Anthony Hopkins is one. Not in real life, he plays piano and does watercolors, for God's sake. I mean, he once serenaded a fan on a video call. The man is delightful. But on screen, he's very unsettling. He's the kind of guy that makes you deeply uncomfortable about the fact that you find him so charming. He doesn't play evil like the man who chose the dark side. He plays evil like the man who redecorated the dark side. He hung up some Renaissance art, and now he's offering you a nice glass of Chianti. Anthony Hopkins doesn't act threatening. He acts interested. And somehow that is so much worse. His smile doesn't warn you, it welcomes you. His voice doesn't boom with menace. It purrs with the quiet confidence of a man who knows exactly how everything's going to turn out and is just enjoying the waiting. When he tilts his head and looks at you, you don't feel like prey. You feel like the subject of a genuinely intellectual fascination. But then you realize both of those are the same thing. I mean, the man has built a career out of being too good at being too still. And stay with me, because the technique that I'm going to share with you at the end will completely change how you approach roles like this. So let's talk Silence of the Lambs.
Closer.
A film that gave us Jodie Foster, FBI procedure, and a rotating door of anxious protagonists. And then Hannibal Lecter arrives, not with a monologue, not with a threat, but with a compliment. He tells Clarice that she has good bone structure. And somehow that is the most frightening thing anyone has said the entire film. Hopkins is on screen for 16 minutes total in Silence of the Lambs. 16 minutes. And then he won the Academy Award for Best Actor. Do the math on what is happening here, because it's not magic. It is his craft. He does not move when he does not need to. He stands perfectly still in that cell, like a man who has made peace with exactly where he is. And a man who finds the entire situation actually quite amusing. Every other character in the film, reacting, scrambling, trying to survive. But Hannibal Lecter is observant, and his stillness is so complete, so deliberate, that the one time he does move, that single lunge forward in the prison cell, it's like a thunderclap. He earns that explosion by making you forget that it's even coming. And the voice, every single sentence sounds like it's being gift-wrapped while you watch. He doesn't rush a single syllable, he savors them. When he says,
"A census taker once tried to test me. I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti."
he doesn't play the horror of it. He plays the memory of a pleasant evening. And that gap between what he is saying and how he is saying it is where all of the terror lives in that performance. I promise you a technique that I'm going to share with you at the end of this video. But before we get into it, I gotta also acknowledge his next performance. Because he comes back as Hannibal 2001. And Hopkins makes a choice that is so bold, it shouldn't work, but somehow it does. He makes Lecter warmer. Not safer, not defanged, but warmer. There's something almost tender about the Hannibal of this film. A man living in Florence, attending operas, cooking elaborate meals. He's genuinely enjoying himself. Hopkins plays him like a man on a very long, very elegant vacation, who is occasionally interrupted by the inconvenience of people. People who do not appreciate beauty like he does. The dinner scene, the opera scene, even the Florence rooftop. He gives Lecter a kind of courtly, almost gracious persona. And that makes him more unsettling than even the caged version of himself. Because this one is free. He has chosen this life. And when that violence comes, it is not menacing. It is very surgical and precise. It's efficient. It's almost polite. Like a man who deeply regrets the necessity, but will not let that stop him. Hopkins understands something about the character that most actors will just miss. Hannibal Lecter does not think of himself as evil. He thinks of himself as a man of taste living amongst people who do not deserve it. And Hopkins never breaks from that point of view, not once. That internal consistency, that character's complete belief in their own logic, that's what makes him terrifying. Because you, as the audience member, can follow it. You almost agree with it. Let's look at his voice specifically. Because it's doing something extraordinary, and I think it oftentimes can get overlooked because so many people notice his eyes. which are also extraordinary, but the voice is the engine. Hopkins controls his pace like a conductor.
Oh, no. You were doing fine.
He knows exactly where to slow down, exactly where to stretch things out, which word to let hang in the air just a bit longer than it should, just making things uncomfortable. And that control creates the atmosphere he lives in.
Oh, Agent Starling, you think you can dissect me with this blunt little tool?
No. I thought that your knowledge...
You're so ambitious, aren't you?
Most actors, when playing menacing, do the opposite thing. They get louder. And they also usually get faster, and they just let that momentum push up the tempo. But look, Hopkins is doing the opposite. The more dangerous the moment he wants to create, the slower he gets. He de-escalates vocally while the stakes of the scene escalate narratively. And Mismatch is deeply, profoundly unsettling. There's a scene where he describes to Clarice exactly what he did to a prison guard. It is one of the most graphic descriptions in the entire film. And he delivers it as a man recounting just an average afternoon. No effect, no relishing in it, no performance of it, it's just the facts. Delivered with the calm of someone who found it rather elegant in the moment. The absence of performance in that moment is what makes it a great performance. And it's genius. And these are the moments that I absolutely love working with actors on. We break down what the greats are doing in order to make it tangible for ourselves so you can apply it to your own performance. If you want to dive into that, I offer a mentorship. Go ahead and click the link in the description down below. I love working and helping with actors. But stick around first, because what I'm about to tell you is what ties everything together. Now, the eyes. Everyone talks about Hopkins' eyes in these performances, and they should, because they are doing something very specific here. He never looks away. In almost every scene, every single shot of him, he is holding his gaze longer than what is considered normal. It's not aggressive. It's not in a staring contest kind of way. It's just slightly longer. He's just slightly more interested than what the situation itself is calling for. And that tiny, deliberate choice creates a power dynamic in the situation. Because the person who holds the eye contact the longest is the person who is not afraid. And the person who is not afraid in a room with Hannibal Lecter is Hannibal Lecter. It is one button pressed consistently over 16 minutes of screen time. And it rewires how you feel about every single scene he is in. And it's not an accident. That is an actor who found the spine of the character. That one physical truth, that entry point for himself that everything else hangs on. And he committed to it completely in every take, every angle, every setup they did. But maybe you think Hannibal is the exception. Maybe that's just that role. Maybe he got lucky with the writing and the character he did. Maybe it just can't possibly roll over into other roles. Let's correct that, shall we? Because this is going to connect to the technique I'm going to share with you. NIXON, 1995, Oliver Stone. Hopkins plays a president who is brilliant, paranoid, self-destructive, and deeply, achingly human. No mask, no stillness. Just a man falling apart in real time. And Hopkins is devastating. The scene he has in the Lincoln Memorial alone, this rambling, half-drunk conversation he has with student protesters. It's one of the finest pieces of acting in the 1990s. He makes Nixon pitiable without excusing him, complicated without simplifying him. The Remains of the Day, a repressed English butler who spends the entire film not saying how he feels. Hopkins communicates an entire inner life on what a character refuses to do. Through his held breath, through his almost moment, the door that nearly opens up and then closes. If Hannibal is Hopkins at full voltage, Stevens, the butler, is Hopkins with everything pointed inward, but it's somehow equally powerful. Then we have the two popes, playing Pope Benedict opposite Jonathan Pryce. Two men, a garden, a theological argument that becomes something much more personal. Hopkins goes toe-to-toe with one of the finest stage actors alive and doesn't block. And the through line through all of it is control. Hopkins never wastes a moment, never tips his hand too early, never gives you more than the scene requires. He trusts the material and he trusts the moment. And he trusts the audience to feel what he is not saying. So here's what Anthony Hopkins actually teaches us. Restraint is not the absence of feeling. It is the presence of feeling contained. And contained feeling that is working hard not to spill over, is infinitely more watchable than a feeling that is just out there in the room. So that technique that I promised you at the start is this. Find one physical behavior that your character uses to hold themselves together. One specific, repeatable thing. For Lecter, it's stillness and eye contact. For Stevens, it's a held breath and a formal posture. Find yours and let everything else, the emotion, the stakes, the story, brass up against that one contained physical choice you made. This is what Hopkins does, and this is why it works. And it is something you can bring to your next scene. So if you want to work on your own acting career and go from hobbyist to a working professional, I would love to work with you. Click the link in the description. Let's set up a call. And if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate hitting the hype button. It helps me find more artists like you out there. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you can see me again. I'd love to see you again. And go check out one of these videos next. All right, see you in the next one. Mwah.